Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Greetings to all listeners of True Buddhism. This is not just a space for sharing words, but a journey to discover the wisdom, compassion, and freedom taught by the Buddha. Today's Dharma talk is excerpted from the book Way Back to the Buddha's Place by the Venerable Elder Thich Thong with the following topic: Ascetic Life and Ordinary Life. In order to successfully attain the profound and pure belief, you need to have contemplation and compare between the ordinary life and the ascetic life. Ordinary life has its own way, and ascetic life has its own way. Ascetic life is in opposite direction from the ordinary life. Ascetic life is to let go of things. Ordinary life is to hold things. So please don't think that ascetic life and ordinary life are alike. No, utterly not. There's not a slightest similarity. If a Buddhist monk lives a secular life, i.e., having wife and children, running after fame and wealth, eating and sleeping without regulation, he is a shaved-headed lay follower instead of a leaving home Bhikkhu, a true disciple of the Buddha. Such people kill Buddhism like the parasites living in the fur of a lion will eventually kill the lion. If the Buddhist monks or nuns live like ordinary people, eat and sleep without regulation, do not let go of materials, their minds are easily attached to sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and thought. The 5 hindrances always cover their intellect. The 7 fetters always bind them like metal chains, which are so tight that they cannot struggle to escape. They become duratama mara. As such, how can they live in accordance with the standard conducts and virtues and let go of evilness? How can they enter the 4 noble concentrations, master their life and death, and put an end to rebirth? How can they enter the concentration of anasrava, to let go of the mind of greed, anger, and ignorance, eliminate the evil ego, and finish the sufferings? How can they enter the concentration of the unshakable mind, to live in peace, bliss, and carefreeness? If a monk or nun still has the secular lifestyle, the person cannot follow Buddhist practice. Such people only borrow the name of Buddhism to earn their living, which is despicable. They deceive the ignorant devotees to live on these devotees' tears and sweat, and it is contemptible. Some people misunderstand Buddhism. They think that they only need to know the method without having to live in accordance with the standard conducts and virtues. This is a wrong understanding. This way of understanding suggests that the life and the practice are 2 different ways. Reciting the Buddha's name, chanting suttas, kowtowing in repentance, reciting mantras, sitting in meditation in front of the Buddha's shrine have nothing to do with the life. Such is shallow understanding of practice, which belongs to those whose mind is so desirous and indulges in abundance of materials. They don't want to let go of ordinary life and also want to hold the ascetic life. In Buddhism, to practice means to live and correct their incorrectness, to set right what they have done wrongly, to prevent evil deeds, to stay away from the temptation of worldly materials, to be abstemious in eating and resting. They have little desire and feel satisfied with basic material condition of life. Protect their 6 senses of eye, ear, nose, mouth, body, and mind, and keep the right mindfulness so that their minds are peaceful, blissful, and carefree. You compare between the ascetic life of true practitioners and the life of ordinary people to see who are in sufferings and who have freed themselves from sufferings. After the comparison, we will see that the life of human beings is really miserable. Their sufferings are real, while the life of those leaving home to practice is as free as the space. They are not bound by anything, and nothing can shake their minds. Only after thoroughly understanding both ways of life can we decide to take one of them. If people hastily choose the way of practice without such comparison and clarity, we are afraid that they are superficial and ebullient. They will be reduced to a dilemma after entering the ascetic life. Ascetic life is extremely difficult. It is not as easy as people often think. For people mentioned above, later on, their ascetic life is not as it should be, and so is their ordinary life. It is half dead. We see people's life to contemplate our own life. The life in the family is full of entanglements and bonds with so many types of fetters, as well as so many material attractions and temptations towards the path of evilness. The path of life is full of pollution and impurity, with so many dangers and traps of evilness awaiting. The more we contemplate, the more we realize that in this life, human beings are born to bear sufferings, and the sufferings are real. When we are still juveniles and unmarried, the life is still fresh and nice like a dream. We only eat and study without having to worry. Our parents have to worry and take care of our meals. When we grow up a bit more, we start to know our desire and spend money and hobnob with friends. We still have not known the sufferings and so often get ourselves into fighting or motorbike race and cause accidents, break arms, legs, or die. At that moment, we start to experience sufferings, which, however, are still at a very low level. When we get married, from this moment we experience the sufferings of human life, spouses and children, money, houses, and daily needs. When our parents are still alive, if we lack something, they will help. But when they die, there's no one to help. We have to take care of our life by ourselves. We have on our shoulders a burden of taking care of everything, but the spouses and children do not know, and thus would not always be sweet to us. Spouses and children have their own thoughts, their own ways of life with their characteristics, and so do we. Therefore, we are not always compatible when living together. Due to such differences, there are often conflicts and disagreements in the family which make the mind dissatisfied and sad. It is not glad at all. If we lack patience, acceptance, and agreement, the family will be a hell on earth. The more we ponder, the more we realize that the life is full of sufferings, too many sufferings and no happiness at all. However, its bond is stronger than anything else. For instance, when we are living together, suddenly one of us dies. Is the living one in agony? Surely there should be no one without feeling of sorrow in such case. A husband and a wife are having meal together and talking about their neighbors and finally picking a quarrel with each other. Is this glad? As such, is there anything glad in such life? A husband and a wife live together without money and the wife wants different things, thus they quarrel with each other and sulk. As we can see, life is suffering in all aspects, but people living in this life do not know or see such sufferings. They only see the illusionary appearance and think it is happiness. E.g., a young couple sitting in a glittering car or on a Honda motorbike, they appear to be happy in such image, but no one knows how many sorrows there are in their minds. A poor person says, "I'm poor, I do not have enough food and clothes, I'm too miserable." But a rich person says, "I have money, but I'm more miserable. I could not sleep well as I'm afraid of theft." These are all different types of sorrows and sufferings of life. For neighbors, a chicken, a duck, a dog, a pig can be the cause for conflicts and disturbance for the neighborhood. Children play and tease one another. Parents take sides and things become serious. Someone is imprisoned and someone is hospitalized, and the two families are in constant hate. Such tiny matters can make human life dissatisfied and unsafe. Looking back at the life of those leaving home to enter monkhood, it is as free as the space. There is no bond, no circumstance can influence their minds, and their hearts are as open and free as the sky and earth, tolerant towards everything. They don't feel uncomfortable in front of impurity or unpleasantness, and they don't feel glad in front of pleasantness and precious things like gold, gems, etc. Therefore, it's really difficult for people who are still living in the families. They cannot completely live in accordance with the conducts of the method. They cannot live the life which is as white as a seashell of those leaving home. We compare between the worldly life and the life beyond the worldly life. The worldly life is enslaved by materials. The life beyond the worldly life is totally freed from being enslaved by materials. Therefore, people living the life beyond the worldly life have no belongings, except for 3 pieces of clothing and an alms bowl. At night, they can sleep well without worrying about theft, as they do not have anything to be stolen. They do not have houses or families, and so they don't have to worry about the well-being of spouses and children. The life of those leaving home for practice is like that, and therefore their minds are peaceful and completely happy. Their hearts are as white as the seashell. Nothing can tarnish them. Evilness cannot shake their minds. They live alone, walk alone, and do things alone, and yet at the same time they know how to integrate themselves in the life with others with the virtues of patience, acceptance, and agreement. In comparison between those who wear the robe of lay followers and those who wear the robe of monks or nuns who have left home for practice, we notice that it is difficult for the Buddhist lay followers to be completely liberated like those leaving home. They can only have resolution for life by goodness and cannot carry out the concentrations to master their life and death. When we are fully aware of the ordinary life and the ascetic life, we deeply understand that the Buddhist practitioners cannot run after worldly sensual pleasures, cannot live with all materials and possessions. They have to leave and stay far away from all, letting go of everything. And no huge pagoda with big towers, no television, refrigerator, car, motorbike, mobile phone, etc. They have little desire and are satisfied with basic material condition with 3 pieces of clothing and an alms bowl, eating only 1 meal per day without noshing. They beg for food. They are neither close nor frigid to anyone. They have no money, no fame or wealth. When people ask them about the method and practice, they will give forthright answers. They will never teach superstition to deceive others. Therefore, the ordinary life and the ascetic life cannot be alike. If there is any likeness, it would not be the ascetic life. Here in the monastery there are monks, nuns, and also male and female lay followers. However, in consideration of your practice, indeed, practice is only the let go, and yet you have not completely let go of things. We know very well that you listen to our teachings for your understanding, but the truth is you do not have enough determination and will and ability to perseverantly practice to liberate yourselves from the world of sorrows.
People who have the determination to seek liberation must be dauntless, shave the hair and beard, put on ugly and plain clothes, cut all the sentimental fetters with families, parents, brothers, sisters, spouses, children, relatives, and leave all possessions. With such renunciation, you are able to practice the concentrations of Buddhism. Only with the practice of concentrations, the 4 noble concentrations of dwelling in present bliss, can you master your life and death and stop the operations inside the body. This practice is not simple and requires total efforts in practicing. You, the monks, have to think about the operations inside our body. For example, the heart is beating, the liver, the lungs, the intestines, and the nerve system are working incessantly. The breathing in and out is automatic, the skin is perspiring. All these operations are creating the vitality for our body. Nevertheless, by practicing the 4 noble concentrations, we can control to stop them. This is not an easy thing to do. If our minds are not yet pure and have not abandoned desire and evilness, or still have the love and hate, resentment and craving for different things, have not renounced the worldly sentimental feelings, then you, the monks, definitely cannot perform this gigantic feat. The teachings of the Buddha have clearly described the path of practice, in which cause and effect is regarded as the core subject for practice. Therefore, the change of evil occupation is the first act to cultivate the good mind and body, right action. After that, we step by step practice the conduct of giving donation and offerings to let go of the mind of selfishness and small-mindedness, and to leave the mind of craving. Every day we cultivate the virtues of patience, acceptance, and agreement in front of each object, each matter, and each circumstance. It is such practice that brings you and your family great peace and happiness. The lay followers only need the practice as much as above mentioned. It is enough to bring you a life of peace and happiness that most people in this world wish for. Only for those who are not content with their lot in life, this path of practice is not suitable. If it weren't for Buddhism to show the path of liberation for human beings would still seek happiness in illusion, and it is such a nice dream. Here, we would like to draw your attention to this. Ordinary life and ascetic life cannot be in the same path. They are two separate ways. Ordinary life is suffering. Ascetic life is liberation. Ordinary life keeps holding things. Ascetic life is the complete renunciation. Accordingly, you observe and will see who are in the right practice and who are in the wrong practice, who are following the right method of Buddhism and who are following the wrong method of heresy. You would not be mistaken. So ascetic life and ordinary life have been clearly defined. Thank you for joining this journey today. May you always be peaceful in body and mind, with clear wisdom and steady steps on the path of Buddha's Dharma. Hope you all live without creating sufferings to yourselves, to others, and to all living beings. Regular mindfulness reminder: the mind is peaceful, blissful, and carefree. If you find this content useful, please share this channel so that more people know about the Buddha Dharma. Thank you very much. See you again in the next episode.